A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to speak with Dylan White, the developer of a game called Rift Wizard.
It's kind of a traditional roguelike, like it's a turn-based, grid-based wizard simulator. Tried to re-examine a lot of the basic fundamental assumptions of roguelike.
Rift Wizard is a roguelike focused on designing a spellbook for the wizard of your dreams. It truly is the roguelike wizard power fantasy. As you play through the levels of Rift Wizard, you unlocked spells. These spells could then be modified using skills, which kind of acted underneath the spells to change how they operate. The spells all had their own individual upgrades, giving the spells different properties and eventually building out an absolutely crazy toolkit of abilities. It also featured a very stressful mechanic where you would lose health and have to heal using potions and regain mana using mana potions. You did not heal between levels, and you also had a limited supply of spells that you did not regain between levels. So it became a very careful management game between resources in your inventory, your spellbook, and your HP. It was a game that I never finished, but a game that I enjoyed playing with. Throughout early access, the game developed and became a very tight, balanced little thing. And now, several years later, after updating Rift Wizard a couple of times, Dylan has returned with Rift Wizard 2. Expanding on those original systems, changing the way level progression works because now you heal and regain your mana between levels. It also changed the way resource management works, focusing the game on items instead of shrines with their one-off upgrades for spells, and allows you to have a much wider variety of builds. A lot of the spell upgrades went to items, and a lot of the shrines became items as well. The game also features multi-tile enemies, which unfortunately I cannot feature in this video as I have not encountered them yet. But now that I've explained what Rift Wizard and Rift Wizard 2 are, at least on a very surface level, this video is a conversation with Dylan White, the developer of Rift Wizard and Rift Wizard 2. I spoke with him a number of years ago when Rift Wizard 1 released. If you would like to watch that video, the link is in the description. Let's dive in.
I'm Dylan White. I am working on Rift Wizard 2, which is the direct sequel to Rift Wizard 1. I'm not quite a solo dev. I'm almost a solo dev. The project is, there's me, there's K Hoops, who has done all of the art and sound for the game. I've also brought one more programmer on, very part-time for now, just a little tiny bit. So the project is now 3 people, which is very exciting.
You've decided to go with a sequel, a direct sequel even. At least on the surface, just looking at it, in the screenshots at the very least, it looks incredibly similar to the first game. The UI is very similar, a lot of things are similar. So I'm just curious, like, when you decided to go with a sequel, what were some things that you knew you wanted to change from the get-go?
I really wanted to add equipment to the game. Like, I knew I wanted to add equipment because equipment, like droppable loot in roguelikes, has such a like key role in the genre. And the role is that when you play the game twice, you find different equipment, and then like your calculus for what is the best build changes, because like, you know, if you find like a fire wand and it makes all your fire spells really good, then like you look at fire spells very differently that run. And Rift Wizard 1, it had a little bit of that with the shrines. You could like give a big boost to one of your spells. They were like very limited. I wanted to make like a really big system that was very deep, that would increase run variety. There were like a couple big balance changes too that I really wanted to make to the game, but I felt like doing them in a patch would have been the most controversial patch ever released. Like Rift Wizard 1 kind of got to this, it was at like a local optima. Like everything was kind of balanced around everything else, and if you were to just like push it in any direction, like it would all just fall over and you'd have to like rebalance everything. But that's like what I did with Rift. That's like what Rift Wizard 2 is. I was like, here are all these things that I kind of want to do, but am afraid to do in a patch. I'm just going to do them, and then fix all of the stuff that breaks as a result, and then by the end, it'll be a different game. As to like the graphic stuff, like I did think about like, Two things actually. One, I was like, should I delete all of the graphics and then redo the graphics, perhaps at a different tile size, right? Like maybe at 24 by 24 instead of 16 by 16. And then the other thing I thought was, should I redo the monster bestiary? Like, should every monster be different? Should it be like a different set of things that you're fighting? And like in both cases, the more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to do that. The monsters in Rift Wizard, they're like very simple and they're very basic. Like a gnome is a monster that walks around and then throws a stationary monster at you. And like maybe like you could change what elemental types it is, right? Like instead of being an arcane nature thing, maybe you could justify that as like some kind of ice monster. It wouldn't really make the game better. It would be a lot of work and it wouldn't make the game much better. And like I really wanted to focus on Rift Wizard 2 with like I want to make like Rift Wizard 1 was not perfect. I feel like it was really good, but there was a lot of like when I looked at the game I saw a lot of flaws. And I really wanted to focus on making a more perfect version of Rift Wizard 1. And I didn't feel like a giant art overhaul would really work towards that goal.
So because the first game was entirely a spell book based game with just a very large variety of spells and then skills that modify those spells, and then of course later on the shrines, in Rift Wizard 2 you've built a equipment system with trinkets and various different items, and my question is, what exactly was the process of building on top of the original systems in Rift Wizard?
So the main impulse from going like from shrines to items. So you can think about Rift Wizard 1 as like, Rift Wizard 1 kind of has an inventory. And your inventory is each of your spells gives you one slot for a shrine. But because all of the shrines are associated with spells, every shrine has to just modify one spell. And this is kind of bad because like one constant design flaw that I wrestled with in Rift Wizard 1 was there. So like Rift Wizard 1 is most fun when you're like a wizard with a big spell book and you're running around and every turn you're trying to think like, given the situation that I'm in right now, what spell do I cast and like how do I cast it? That's like the fun. That's a big fun part of Rift Wizard 1. But a lot of the reward systems in Rift Wizard 1 encourage you to buy one spell and make that one spell into a god spell that solves every situation. And one thing that contributes to that was shrines, because you would get a shrine and that shrine would make one spell better, but it wouldn't do anything for the rest of your spellbook. And you once you got like a nice shrine in Rift Wizard 1, it made you want to buy more spells less, because those new spells you buy wouldn't benefit from it. So I wanted to move to something where instead of finding things that make one spell really powerful, you found things that shaped your build and like gave you new stuff, but still left you open to expanding your build and to adding more tools to your toolkit. And so yeah, like equipment was just removing shrines and replacing it with equipment was like a very natural way to do that. So the first thing I did was I got rid of the shrines. I tried to look for like, well, what are the shrines that I'm sorry to see go? Like, what are the cool shrines? And the cool shrines all either became equipment or spells or passive skills. And then I started thinking like, well, what are the things that you couldn't do with shrines that you can do with equipment? I mean, a big thing is just you can get a small passive bonus to everything. That's a thing that shrines can never do, but it's like a very natural thing for equipment to do. Like you can find like a sorcery lens, which gives all of your sorceries +1 range. And that's very simple. It's not like it doesn't take a lot of creativity for me to come up with that. But when you're playing the game and you find something like that, it really impacts the way that you play the game. And it's really exciting to find. And it's it interacts with so much of the spellbook. When I decided to make Rift Wizard 2, I forked the Git repo, and then I was like, all right, let's see what happens if you heal at the end of the floor. Because there are two reasons. So one was the amount of anxiety that new players feel when they understand how limited the resources are was very it was bad. I don't know. Some people, they would play the game and it would just be so unpleasant for them. On the other hand, there were benefits to it. The way that it made you think about every spell cast was very, very cool, and I will miss that. So Rift Wizard 1, it also had this problem. I tried so many times to solve this problem in Rift Wizard 1, but it like plagued me the entire dev cycle. Players would accumulate a giant bank of potions, and like once a player got powerful, they'd be able to do like 2 or 3 realms without consuming a potion. And so like maybe you get powerful around realm 14, right? Like you would stop drinking potions, and then by the time you got to the final boss, you have like more potions than you could ever drink, and like then you'll only ever use like your most powerful spell. Like every turn you'll either use it or drink a mana potion. The charge mechanic like loses all relevance once you get to that situation. I didn't like the way that resource management late game in Rift Wizard 1 worked out. And so like the one thing I really wanted to try, but that I didn't feel was appropriate to try on a Rift Wizard 1 patch, was just refilling your health and mana at the end of the level and dropping way fewer potions, which is what Rift Wizard 2 does. One really interesting thing that this does is now you can have spells that modify your hit points. Like in Rift Wizard 2, there's Blood Magic, and Blood Magic costs hit points to cast. And a lot of Blood Magic also restores your hit points. And there's a lot of other spells that now restore your hit points. And whereas in Rift Wizard 1, a spell that restores your hit points is like, it's so powerful because now you can transmute mana potions into health potions. I had to be very careful in Rift Wizard 1 around stuff like Word of Beauty and Choir of Angels. You know, you would buy it just to transmute mana potions into health potions. But in Rift Wizard 2, I can be much more casual about that. And there's so many mechanics that involve giving hit points to the players that you can experiment with that I can't experiment with without that change. So those are like, I don't know, it's like those 3 reasons are the reasons I wanted to make that change.
I've played a lot of roguelikes, and something that I hear time and time again is multi-tile monsters are really, really hard. Making them go through doors, like you have to rethink all of your level gen, to the point where it's a thing that you very rarely even see in roguelikes, to the point where it's like a thing that people point at and go, it has multi-tile enemies. When you decided to tackle that nightmare, when was that something you knew you wanted to do from the start? When did that kind of pop up in development? And did you have any fun stories about troubles of developing for them?
I will tell you the stories of multi-tile monsters. Okay, so when I first made the ASCII prototype for Rift Wizard 1, I had it in the back of my mind that multi-tile monsters would be really cool. And I was very ambitious with my ideas for them in Rift Wizard 1. So in Rift Wizard 2, what you have there are square monsters. They're like 3x3 monsters, and there are 5x5 monsters. And it's always an odd number, because there's always a center tile, because that makes the game easier for me to code. But in my imagination, there would not only be square monsters, there would be like snake monsters, you know, where there's like a tail following them around, and maybe also even like I had a little mock-up of like an ASCII dragon, where it had like wings and claws and a tail and a big body, and I had this like idea in my head for like how I would place all these body parts every time like the center of the monster moved. But I didn't there were so many things that I wanted to do in Rift Wizard 1 that I never got around to this. So then when Rift Wizard 2 came, I started thinking back to this, and I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. Like let's implement this. So first I did the simplest thing, which was 3x3 and 5x5 monsters. And that was not very simple at all. As you just pointed out, that is not very simple. I didn't realize how complicated it was going to be. Like I had not. I think it's funny that you were talking about like how rare it is and like how notable it is when a roguelike does this. I had never thought about that. I thought it would be easy. I was just like, you just like, it's just a monster that occupies more tiles. That can't be too hard. Like one thing that's really, really hard is making the level gen, like generate levels where big monsters can pass through it, and where you can't just cheese it by like walking through a door and like trapping the monster on the other side, and then like when it passes around, you know, you walk through the door and now the monster has to take the long path. The amount of work that I thought I was going to have to do was like a week, right? But then the amount of work that I actually had to do to get everything working with the multi-tile monsters was very, very high. After like a bunch of attempts at monsters with tentacles, I just put that on hold, because there was like so much stuff that wasn't going to work there. The really hard thing is actually, how do you deal with monsters blocking each other? That was the thing that I never got a satisfactory solution to. Like Rift Wizard is a simple game. You go to a level and all the monsters start walking towards you. But like, what if you have a monster with really long tentacles and it's like blocking everything? Well, I don't know. That's like really, that's going to add a lot of opportunities for the player to like learn how the tentacles move and then like cheese the boss by like inspiring it to put the tentacles in places that block the other monsters. It was just, there was too much complexity to it. So I limited it just to the 3x3 and the 5x5 monsters. But those monsters, I think those monsters are still pretty exciting.
Like, you know, when you pop up in a Steam page and you see a game that you haven't seen before, what's the thing that jumps at you immediately? And as somebody who played the previous game quite a long time ago, the thing that jumped at me immediately was, oh, there's multi-tile enemies.
That is very true. That is very true. It's funny, so with Rift Wizard 1, I thought a lot more about like, how do I get people who've never heard of this game to understand what it is and be interested in it? With Rift Wizard 2, I'm thinking much more of like, how do I make something that someone who played Rift Wizard 1 loves? Like if no one who doesn't know about Rift Wizard, like if no new players buy Rift Wizard 2, but like all the Rift Wizard 1 players buy Rift Wizard 2 and love Rift Wizard 2, that's like fine for me, you know? Like I'm totally happy just to like keep making the game for the people who are like really, really into it. So I definitely think I've been thinking very differently about marketing this time around. It's like got a bunch of new stuff in it, and the new stuff is really cool. But so far, the game has really only been played by like, I don't know, I think 27 people have activated like a pre-release key. And I think, you know, of those 27, a lot of them only played it for a few hours. And then they were like, you know, oh, this is cool, thanks for the key. And then they like move on. So like, maybe the core audience has been 6 or 7 people. So like every spell has 3 new upgrades, right? And like they're all really big and impactful. And there's this new equipment system. And there's like, I don't know how many equipments are in the game, like 100 right now. So like I will make no claim that the game is currently balanced. It's definitely not balanced right now. Like a really big thing I want to do in early access is I just want to see way more data, like way more feedback on like how is the game actually going for people? Like because like my dream is that the game has, you know, hundreds or thousands of like possible different builds and like different ways to play the game and different like spellbook orders and like different ways to combine the skills and the spells and the upgrades. But like for that to be true, like you have to have some modicum of balance. And I don't know if the game has that right now. So like I want to spend a lot of time just like watching people play. And that's like early access is a very good way to do that. The only ways I think I could do that would be like I could do early access, or I could do like a really big private beta. But like one thing that's really been bugging me over the past 6 months is like not being able to talk about the game with people. Because like if you have a private beta, then every time you talk about the game publicly, it's like it's a huge thing, you know. But I want to just like casually watch people play the game. And like I want to get way more feedback. As for like the roadmap of the stuff that I want to do during early access, I want to focus much more this time on just making new content. I don't want to mess with the core systems very much. Like I want to keep, so in Rift Wizard 1 early access, there was a lot of messing with core systems. Like shrines totally changed. A lot of the ways that monsters spawn totally changed. I think for Rift Wizard 2, I'm hoping to do much more just like, here's more spells, here's more skills, and especially here's more equipment. I think the amount of equipment in the game right now, it's like all right, but it's not like for full launch. I would love to have twice as much equipment in the game for full launch. But to do that, you know, I really need like a lot of people testing the game. Like it's not possible for me to test all of the equipment myself. Like I would have to play hundreds of runs, and I don't have time to play hundreds of runs of Rift Wizard 2 anymore, unfortunately.
For me, the thing that got me excited about Rift Wizard 1 was just the number of spells. The thing that has me excited about Rift Wizard 2 is I think it's a game I'm going to play a lot more. And also, you saying that the game isn't balanced actually has me excited because I like poorly balanced games because I can just break stuff.
Like my pitch is this: if you're the type of person who gets really annoyed when you play a game and it's not fully polished and like there's a bug or there's like a horrible balance thing, then like wait until full launch, because full launch is like that's going to have the learnings of like the whole early access group testing the game for probably about a year. I think it's going to be about a year, but I don't think that's actually most Rift Wizard players. I think the type of person who plays Rift Wizard is very, very excited to find something super broken. And like, if you want to find something super broken and then like post about it on the Discord and then like talk about how it could be changed and like be part of the process for like balancing the game, then like you want to come in during early access. Because that's like part of the reason that I wanted to make Rift Wizard 2 instead of making another Rift Wizard 1 patch was like I wanted to do all this stuff that unbalanced the game. And I feel like I do want to, I don't know, I don't want to just work on one game forever and have that one game never stay the same. Like I like having this checkpoint of like Rift Wizard 1 is like a finished, optimized thing. It's like reasonably polished. All of the horrible bugs are gone. You can play it whenever you want, and it's like the same forever. Like I like that. Someday, I hope Rift Wizard 2 will get to that same state, but it will be a while. Like early access won't. Early access will be very in flux. Like there will be a lot of balance changes. There will probably be weird bugs, but I think it will be the game will be changing a lot during early access. So I think it will be pretty exciting to be part of it as well. Right now, you can only buy the game on Steam. I mean, you can Google Rift Wizard, and you'll find the Steam link. You can always come to the Discord and talk to us. We can talk about the game. The Discord, again, you can find just from the Steam store. And yeah, just find it on Steam. That's the way to find it. Hundreds of runs, and I don't have time.